Okay, so Deputy Chief Minister, what's the latest in respect of the assessment of the tunnel, and is the pipe damaged?
Well, can I just say, first of all, before I answer your question, that there are a huge number of people who have worked extremely hard over the last 48 hours to ensure that Gibraltar's water supply is restored as soon as possible. And I really have to express the thanks of the government and of the people of Gibraltar to, for example, the Gibraltar Fire and Rescue Service, who have been incredibly brave in going into these tunnels, in suffering the risk of a potential rockfall, not to mention fighting a flame in an enclosed and confined space. AquaGib, the Technical Services Department, the GEA, across the government, across the public service, people have really pulled out all the stops. Now, as a result of that, it means that the original estimate that we gave of 5 days for the full operation of the plant, and therefore our production getting back up to capacity, has now been reduced to 2 days. So it means that all the information that we gave earlier in relation to the 5 days is now only going to be 2. So it's going to happen much quicker, and that will benefit, obviously, the whole of the consumers.
So there has been damage to the pipe infrastructure. Gibraltar can't rely on normal water supply, but you're hoping that it can be back quicker. Tell us to what extent was the government aware and was planning for this eventuality that so much of our water supply depended on this infrastructure up by the tunnel? Well,
there are several. First of all, there's a plant at North Mole which produces 1.5 million litres of water a day, and which is untouched by this, and which continues to supply water into the system.
Am I right in thinking that that's a quarter of what we need?
The policy decision we've taken is that we're going to ring fence most of that for the hospital and for certain critical areas in Gibraltar. In addition to that, we expect, as from tomorrow, a delivery of some 600,000 litres of water coming in on tankers from Spain. That may continue over a number of days as we seek to replenish our stocks. And AquaGib have also taken the decision to distribute bottled water to those who may require it, in addition to the 5 bowsers that they have going around now the different estates. So that is the plan at present, and we should also remember the Ministry of Defence is also supporting us. They are feeding in water at Lathbury and at Middle Hill, which is helping us in terms of the Upper Rock and also in terms of parts of the South District. So
because
there is
they
a
have
combined effort.
Their own plant.
They have their own separate plant. So there is a combined Gibraltar PLC effort, and I'm very grateful to everyone who's been involved in that. But to get back to your question, I'll explain the infrastructure, the layout, and what it was that happened, if that's helpful. The water intake here is at Little Bay. So the water comes in through Little Bay, and it goes up to the Beefsteak Reservoir, which is a tunnel. From that reservoir, it's then piped across the Powers Drive tunnel, which is where the fire broke out, and then it exits at Governor's Cottage in an RO plant on that side of the rock. Now, as a result of the fire and the rockfall, the AquaGib were not sure whether the pipe was damaged or not, and the only way to find out was actually to try and pump water through it, which they couldn't do because there was no electrical supply. So the GEA initially pulled out all the stops to supply electricity where the electricity was needed. As a result of that, water was pumped, when you were broadcasting the news earlier on this evening, through the pipes, and it didn't work. So the water did get to the RO plant, but it wasn't going through in the right place and in the right direction. So then we'd started already the contingency plan, which was the laying of a new pipe along the ground to the RO facility, which would then completely eliminate and void the need to use the plant which had been damaged. That work has already started. It is going on for 24 hours, so it will go on overnight. It'll carry on tomorrow. That is the work which we originally envisaged would last 5 days. That is now going to last only 2 days. And people should bear in mind, AquaGib tell us that they expect the stocks of water to resume and consumption to continue as normal. This is a one-off temporary situation.
So what would you say to somebody who's concerned that it seems that critical infrastructure for Gibraltar lacked resilience and perhaps security as well?
No, in terms of resilience, what we are told, bear in mind, I'm not a technical expert, the government relies on technical advice that is put to us. But when we requested, right, what are the contingency plans, we want a list of what it is that you have. AquaGib came up with a list of 7 or 8 different items that they've already been looking at, some of which are now materializing tomorrow, as soon as tomorrow, and it's worked. In terms of security, the RO plant, for example, is fully secured, it's alarmed. There are cameras, so it's fully contained and fully protected. There is a length of tunnel where we need to have a full investigation to see what happened. We know there may or there will be a police investigation, and the fire brigade is already looking at it, so we need to await the outcome of all that.
That was a government tunnel, or at least government oversaw the storage that was happening there. Can you tell us what has burnt or what is likely to have burnt? What was in there?
These were tunnels which were handed over by the Ministry of Defence to the government of Gibraltar before we came into office. And the plan was and has been to use them for storage. They're huge vaults hewn into the rock. So the massive size. So Gibraltar, as you know, lacks space, and this government and previous governments have made use of it for storage. There were 2 that were held by customs. There were a couple held by the Ministry for the Environment, where I understand they had things like different recycling bins and things of that nature. There were others which were used to store pallets. There were a couple of empty ones. But they were stored inside the rock in an area where there is no electrical supply. So there is more than one thing that needs to be investigated, obviously.
Okay, and for somebody who finds themselves, it's a fairly unprecedented situation, certainly in recent times. For somebody who finds themselves in particular difficulty for whatever reason, you've set up a helpline. That's
right. AquaGib have set up a number which I have here. It's 200 73659. That is a number where elderly or vulnerable people who have difficulty with water supply, it is a number they should ring to get help from AquaGib.